Namaste, everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Radhika Chopra. Today I'm going to be speaking about the topic of meditation, and I know there are many people who speak about this. So I wanted to share my experience and my perspective on it. First of all, I'd like to thank all my viewers who actually sent me topics that I can speak about. So I encourage you, if you want me to share my experience about any topic, please do let me know, and I'm happy to share it here on YouTube. So when we speak about meditation, I think today even the youngest of children have heard the word meditation because they hear it in school. And it's really picked up steam. It's something that people are talking about more and more. However, the first response to the word meditation seems to be one of that meditation is a very distant and an unachievable process. And I think the reason is that we are encouraged to think a lot. We are encouraged to the process of thinking is, it's about strategizing, thinking, problem solving, which is all mind related. And so we are so involved with our thoughts that we feel that they are our thoughts, and we get very emotionally or mentally vested in them. And hence you hear the words, I cannot meditate. You can hear people say that, I cannot meditate. I've had a lot of people say that. A lot of my friends say, I can't meditate. And the reason why they say that is perhaps because they feel that meditation is about not having any thoughts. And then the moment they sit down and they are completely blank, devoid of any thoughts whatsoever, is when they have successfully meditated. And because they can't do that, they feel they can't meditate. So I think that's really the simple reason why people say that. Now, this topic of meditation, although I'm going to be sharing my perspective and experience, I must confess that this is something that is also a muscle that I am building. I do sit for meditation once a week with my Guruji Santosh Satdeva. I was introduced to the silent meditation by her, and I will explain what that is. And of course, I have a billion thoughts, if not more. But before that, let's just understand what are the different kinds of meditation, because when you go to different schools of meditation and spiritual guidance, people will have different systems of meditation. They are guided meditations which are really exercises. Then there is the silent meditation, and that's very different because you just sit in silent. You probably just observe your breath initially, and slowly it just drops, and what you're doing is observing everything that happens, everything that takes place internally, and that's a very silent meditation. So one of my teachers said it very beautifully, and he said, Partha Gupta, and you will see his interviews on YouTube as well, and he talked about meditation is when you do not interfere with life as it's happening. Like basically you're not interfering with anything, you're just becoming a witness, and that's actually meditation. So hence you'll see a lot of people talk about that when I was painting or when I was singing or I was gardening, it's such a meditative process. What does that mean? That means that there is no thought. There is no thought of I am doing this and this needs to become something. You're so immersed in the moment, so present to the moment, and there is no separation between the doer and the doing. Actually, you realize you're not the doer, so it's happening automatically. Notice that when you're dancing or you are singing or if you are gardening, it's just happening. You're so immersed in the process that you can feel you can smell the flowers, you can feel the leaves, the mud and everything. So that is a meditative process. So what happens when we are meditating? One is you're becoming a witness. When you're observing what's going on, within you, whether it is a thought, how your thoughts are running in a certain direction, then they run in another direction, or you can become a witness to a lot of sensations in the body. The body tends to get louder when we sit down. So I've noticed that when we sit for meditation, we'll start feeling itches and pains, and every sensation in our body gets louder and louder as the mind gets quieter and quieter. And you've got to be the witness to everything. That is as if you're watching a movie without getting involved. And the second thing I feel meditation does is, which is something that's really, really required for each one of us, is to be with oneself. Now, I know a lot of people say I was with myself, but when we really take a look at it authentically, truthfully, we will see that we are with ourselves and a book, with ourselves and music, or with ourselves and mostly a laptop or a cell phone. And that's really not time to yourself. That is with yourself. It's a distraction. So being with yourself is being there completely. And I was talking to a friend today, so this is 2021 and we are in the midst of the pandemic still. And I think the process of isolation for a lot of people brings them, into this process of just being with themselves. And yes, it's easier because people have video calls, cell phones, televisions to distract themselves, but they will have a lot of moments in those 14 days of quarantine to just be with themselves. And that makes it really a really difficult process for most of us, because we are so used to being distracted and not in our own company. As I said, there are a lot of uncomfortable sensations, a lot of uncomfortable thoughts, distracting thoughts. Like when I have sat for meditation many times, I feel like there are more thoughts than I can even take. It just suddenly there's a dam that burst of thoughts. And it can be very uncomfortable, or your body can be very uncomfortable, or you can get mentally or even physically restless. The ability for us to sit our bodies down through the discomfort, and I think we all are looking for comfort, we all are looking for the easy way out, and so we are not used to going through any discomfort. And that's one of the processes that meditation gives us, is the ability to sit through all distractions and all restlessness in stillness. I think that translates to life as well, that no matter how disturbed anything can be and how restless our environment can be, inner or outer, we can have a certain poise and a control, or we are able to sit still through that process. It's not easy, of course, but it is something that happens to kind of develops over a period of time. It takes sometimes a long time. So my experience with meditation started, of course, before I met Guruji, because I had explored different things, but it was more of meditation exercises. When I went to my guru, Santosh Sachdeva, I actually started with the process of meditation. So I would sit with her every Thursdays when we would have meditation. I would sit in that presence and sit silently for half an hour. There was nothing that I wanted to achieve. There was nothing to do. We did not have an exercise. She simply told us and continues to tell us to sit and observe whatever is transpiring. Just become a witness. Don't get involved with it. It is what it is. So it's literally going and watching a movie and not thinking that you are a character in the movie or you're part of the plot. You just watch the movie. So in the same way, you watch everything that's happening. And one of the things that happens with a lot of people in the process of meditation is things get louder. As I said, your physical discomforts, your mental activity can get louder. And also there is a certain process of evolution that begins. I think as much as Kriya, as I'd spoken about in my previous video, I think even meditation is a process of cleansing. And the thoughts actually surface up, and they are able to go or leave you if you do not get involved with them. So we are present, there is no separation, there is no mind, there is no doer, and life starts to flow. And while I was sitting, and I've written this down, the things that I wanted to cover, the questions I had from the viewers, I was also thinking about it in terms of astrology. I am an avid fan, seeker, a student of Vedic astrology or Jyotish Shastra. And I was looking at how does meditation actually play a part in the greater blueprint of our life. So in astrology, we have 12 houses or 12 bhavas, and each has to do with some aspect of life. It could be resources, it could be home, family, children, creativity, education, spouse, and so on and so forth, your work and career and things like that. So one of the things that got my attention, and I was talking to my teacher about it, is the house 6 and house 12 in astrology. Now the 6th house is actually the house of enemies, okay, as well as obstacles in life, as well as illness or sickness in life, okay. So it's to do with disease, right? So Rog, Rin and Shatru. So Rog is disease, Rin is debt, and Shatru is enemies. Now these enemies need not be actually external. Our own enemies are sometimes within us. And of course, there is the aspect of disease when things get disbalanced. Now in astrology, whatever works like a lock and a key. So the 6th house, if that's the lock, the key is the opposite of it, which is the 12th house. So what is the 12th house? The 12th house is about retreat, rest. So in the 6th house, you go on with your daily activities, and you go to the 12th house to sleep. That's your bed. You work every day, like you do hard labor in the 6th house. You go to the 12th house to take rest or take a holiday or retreat. You go away. Then you are engaged in, you have diseases, you have obstacles, you have enemies within and without, or you have sickness. And where do you go? 12th house is the hospital. You go to the hospital, or some place where you rejuvenate, rest and heal. But the 12th house also has got to do with meditation. Now the 12th house, I have noticed, is really looked at very closely in Vedic astrology. It is called Dusthana, or rather it's a malefic house. So one of the remedies for the 12th house, to balance the 12th house, is very much not only good rest, good sleep, but it is also meditation. It is the key that opens all the problems of the 6th house as well. So I thought that was very interesting that there is astrologically, my teacher mentioned that a remedy of the 12th house it's one of the remedies is meditation. So it's becoming passive, it's becoming quiet, it's becoming witness, and it's merging into oneness. So that's how beautiful even astrology is, as well as how it shows us that how these what should be daily activities, daily practices, are so important to balance all aspects of our life, and so many aspects of our life rather. So the 6 enemies, what we call the 6 Arishat Vargas, or the 6 enemies, are in the 6th house, which is Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, and Mada, Matsarya. So basically it's all to do with lust, anger, greed, attachment, arrogance, and jealousy. So these are what are our downfalls, whether we feel it internally or experience it externally. And hence meditation is one of the best ways that you will remedy your 12th house, and also find a way to deal with all these issues of the 6th house. So that's the astrological twist to it. I think we should start with baby steps with meditation. If you're not a person who meditates, maybe sitting down and observing our breath for 2 minutes, increasing it to 3 minutes, then 5 minutes, and then thereby increasing it further from there is a good idea, so that you don't have to take a giant leap right away. Of course, I will say again, it is of great help and also becomes a catalyst in our evolution when you're sitting in a certain space. So if you have a teacher, a guide, a guru that you can sit and meditate with, I think it provides you the right atmosphere and becomes a great catalyst in bringing about a greater change, a greater evolution. And you can discuss as well what you experience in meditation, so you can have an insight without getting involved with what you saw. It's not about getting involved with images or impressions that come up, but really becoming an observer and watching it as a witness, and seeing what are these things that are coming out. We don't have to understand where they come from, because the 12th house is also to do with the unconscious. So when we sit and meditate, a lot of our unconscious patterns also get sorted out. So I hope I've encouraged you into a practice of meditating. I would love to meditate every day, ideally, but I don't. But I would like to increase it. I take 5 minutes daily to just bring myself down to back to my breath. But I do meditate once a week with my Guruji. So I think even if we have a schedule, it could be once a week that you do this. It's a great service to yourself. So I hope you found something useful in this video. Thank you so much. Namaste.